Smile, Constance.
Hey, what's going on, my brother from another mother? How you doing, Robert Antoinette?
Hey, baby sis. You know what? I was just watching that intro. The intro is so cool, but I found out something and I cringed while I was watching it. Do you know I left you hanging on the dap? That must be against black rules. You
I,
cannot leave a brother hanging on the
I,
dap like the fist bump or,
I,
or the high five.
you left me hanging. Yeah,
I left you hanging. I've watched it a dozen times and I didn't realize that I left you hanging.
let's show it again because I want the people to see how you left me hanging on the gap. Let's go ahead and do that again. Let's do it. You were supposed to give me a snap with that.
I missed it. I mean, because the camera lady at the time was saying, "Look at the camera," so I was following instructions. I didn't know you had an extra little.
Improvise, brother. Improvise. Come on.
Oh my God! So can we get a high five going right now on the count of three?
Yeah. You ready?
1, 2, 3.
Wait.
All right, get the 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
That's good enough.
Can you do a fist bump? Because last time you was doing like this, you was like super like slow. See?
Let's do it next week.
The fist bump, y'all. Oh my God, what's going on, my friends? I am Constance Carter. This is your man, Robert Antoinette. And we're here talking about Black love, relationship goals. I'm so excited to be here tonight with you guys. I'm excited to be here with all of you guys because we have a really, really special treat. We actually have a special guest tonight. So I'm super excited about that. We talked to them in the green room, Rob. They got a lot of good stuff that they want to share because the whole purpose of us coming live every night is to talk about things that are going to enhance your life in one way or another. We don't want to just get up in here and just talk about some nonsense that's not going to do anything for you. We want to really help you to enhance your life. And our guests tonight are going to do just that. But hey, Angela, but before we do, we want to know where you guys are from, right, Rob?
Absolutely. Everybody, if you're watching, we appreciate you. You can be anywhere else in the world, but we're so thankful that you are here with us. So please put your name in the feed. Let us know where you're watching. I'm amazed at all of the audience members who are watching from South Africa, from London, England, from Shreveport, Louisiana, from Baltimore, from DC, from Virginia, wherever you're watching from. Shout yourselves out, represent your city, and let us know who is watching. So once again, my friends, my name is Robert Antoinette, and you can find me anywhere on social media. On Facebook, I am Robert Antoinette. On Instagram, Constance, I am Robert Antoinette. Even on Clubhouse, I am Robert Antoinette. And on LinkedIn, I am
Robert Antoinette. Yes, that's what's up. And it's your girl, Constance Carter. Make sure that you are liking and hitting the thumbs up button for Fly Nubian Queen on Instagram. On Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I want to make sure that you're following and you're hitting the alert button and you're hitting thumbs up. Also, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page, Nobody Works Harder Than Constance Carter. And on Facebook, Nobody Works Harder Than Constance Carter. Then I want you to go over to Instagram as well, where Robert Antoinette is. His name is I Am Robert Antoinette. My name is I Am Constance Carter. So I want to make sure that you follow the both of us because we try to give you great content that you can use, that you can live by, that'll enhance your life in one way or the other. That's what Robert and I try to do. That's what our whole being is about, bringing you something that's of value to you. And just like every other night, same with tonight. So Robert.
Yes, love.
What is your thoughts? People are not getting married. People don't want to say I do these days.
If you're asking me, sister, I will plainly tell you that there are a myriad of reasons why, but I think that marriage, most people have discovered, married, divorced, single, and otherwise, marriage is hard work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people run from that work, and we usually take the path of least resistance because to truly be married, I think that you have to learn to share. And you have to have strategies for overcoming difficult times, right? Because it's impossible for God, a benevolent God, to make two people the same. Because if both of us are the same, one of us is unnecessary. I'll say again, if both of us are the same, one of us are unnecessary. So when you have two beautifully flawed people in the same place at the same time for a prolonged time, stuff like lifting the seat becomes a problem. Stuff like, I know you didn't eat the last scoop of my ice cream becomes a problem. Stuff like, how you just gonna come up in here and take this remote control becomes a problem. Stuff like, damn, can you please stop snoring becomes a problem. Or, damn, why are you using all the good towels? You just had a towel. I mean, like all these things pile up and they build and they build and they build. And at some point, we get the idea, Constance, I got this from you. I think I'll be better off by myself. And that's kind of what happens.
Sometimes just them, the sign of them breathing irritates the hell out of you. You just stop breathing already. I mean, just please, just stop breathing. I don't even want you in my presence. And people have gotten to that point. But what about those people who have gotten to that point, but were able to make their way back? Now that's a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, those are the real MVPs. You know, shout out to the people who have stayed in their relationship. Shout out to the people who are making marriages work in spite of diversity, because it's difficult. And especially this past year in 2020, hello, COVID. No COVID kisses out there in these streets, but you got to be with the one you with, even though your mom may be on the other side of town. And I can rattle off a whole bunch of songs, but I think 2020 showed a lot of us tested our mettle, you know, in regards to relationship and seeing if we truly had some staying power, because, you know, we had to stay locked up for at least a year, right?
Yeah, a lot of people who had Valentine's last year didn't have Valentine's this year.
Ooh, ain't that something? You know, well, shout out to all of the Valentines. I'm not a big holiday kind of guy, but I know that's very special to men and women. So happy belated Valentine's to you. I hope you got your sweetie, your chick on the side, your boo thing, or it's complicated. Whoever he or she is, hopefully you got him some love. Hopefully you showed him that you do care. And this one day is not the end all be all, but I love Black Love, Constance. And I think we should get some folks on who can help us out to expound on this topic a little further.
I think so too, because I know our audience has a lot to add to the conversation, but I want to get some experts who's actually said I do, I don't, and I do again. So let's bring them on out. Ed and Stacey Goins. Hey.
Hi.
Hey, how you guys
We're
doing?
coming to you from freezing cold Dallas. We had to relocate to a hotel room. Sorry, y'all, for the background.
Are you guys okay over there?
Yeah, we're safe. We don't have any power at our house, so we've been in a hotel for the last several days. And so you talk about COVID and having to be close and connected. We made it through that, but now we've got kind of freeze-mageddon. So hopefully we'll make it through this too.
Freeze-mageddon. All right. Well, we're so glad that you guys are on the show. And, you know, people that our audience, they're very astute, Anastasia. They want to know that you really got what you say you got, and they want to hear something that will add value to their lives. And we already know, because Constance and I talked to you in the green room, that you certainly have value. So why don't you set us up a little bit and tell us a little bit about your story?
Okay, great. I'll start. That's okay. So I'm Stacia Gowans, and I have been married to my husband almost 25 years. So we got married pretty young, had kids pretty young as well, and have moved around a lot in our relationship and have had to depend on each other quite a bit because we were all we had, kind of like CMB, we all we got. So that's a little bit about who I am. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll tell a little bit about the story.
So I'm Ed, everyone. Thank you guys for having us. Like Stacia said, we've been married for 25 years. The good thing about us is that we've actually both originally from Michigan. I grew up in Detroit a little bit, also in California, but we met while I was working at Michigan State University, which I graduated from, and she was actually a student there on her way to graduating. So we had so much in common when we connected. It just kind of like all fell into place. So we're very glad to be here, and thank you guys for having us again.
So,
Thank you guys.
Oh, go ahead.
I said thank you guys for coming. Jake already asked if you're leading, if she leads. You hear that? See, they are controversial.
No, I do not lead. So this is what's really interesting to me, and we'll talk a little bit about the backdrop of the book, and then we'll talk about kind of how we make our relationship work. And I think, Robert, you hit the nail on the head we are two different people, right? With two different unique sets of skills and strengths. And I am a very smart, capable woman all on my own, but I will tell you, my husband is the leader of our household. I have no problem telling you that. So our story, we really started talking about this about 6 years ago, that we had a story we felt like could help others dealing with what we felt like was the worst part of the marital vows. Most people go into it and say, oh, I take this person for better, for worse. And then, like you said, because they snore too loud or breathe too loud, you're ready to leave. And I'm not saying we've never had those moments before, but we really dealt with probably what could be considered one of the worst circumstances, which is we were both unfaithful to one another. And we found our way absolutely through that situation. We're so far beyond it now that we could write about it, that we could talk to our children about it.
Wait. I want to sit right there really quick. I want to sit right there. Unfaithful part. Because we have had discussions here before.
Okay.
Robert and I have had discussions on the show about people being unfaithful. And in my opinion, I say that's not the deal breaker. That's not the end all be all. You can come back from that.
Right.
Robert here has said
you can't.
It is a absolute, like, ain't no coming back. But then you also said one time, Rob, if she cheat, we cheat. So which is it?
If she cheats,
So let me be clear in saying what I'm saying. Once you commit to one person, right? So just so you know, Stacey, I have this thing called ROE, rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement need to be given early on. This talks about exclusivity. This talks about how we're going to fight. This talks about how we're going to roll. This talks about who I am and who you are in this relationship.
Correct.
Got it? Good. Eddie Murphy, Lillian will not take the trash out. That's my job, right? So if you break those rules of engagement, so much so to the point of, extramarital or extracurricular activity, then like there's no coming back from that, because I have given you my vow of exclusivity. That's all I got. Like
that's what most people feel. I think that's what most people. That's what we felt.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I feel like and we talk about this in the book too, that it is very. It can be very dangerous to make vows to yourself about what you're not going to do, right? Because if you do believe in God, you do believe in a higher power, He will do and put you in circumstances. It don't matter what you want, right? And He's going to say, now, do you actually trust me? Or do you trust your own rules of engagement?
Okay, so
let me tell you something. There's plenty of rules you can have. Every time that you put down a rule in a relationship, you say, this is what I'm not going to take. This is what I expect. I think you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to hurt your relationship more. You have to grow. I believe there's some boundaries you set and you talk, but you have to be willing to grow and understand that people change over time. So the thing that bothers you today may not be something that bothers you in the future, or vice versa. You have to be flexible. And I think sometimes that's where we as couples get in trouble. We don't want to be flexible. We expect this person to, like I say in the book, always make you happy. And that's not always the responsibility to be the single point of your happiness. So when you put these rules down, you're expecting, well, I don't expect you to cross over these boundaries. Once you do that, you're going to put yourself in some difficult situations.
Robert's raising his hand like he's in church.
So is this an unreasonable rule? Rule number 17. When I'm doing number 2, that's my space. Don't knock on the door. Don't ask can you get tissue. Like, I need that time to me. And that's going to be rule 17 forever.
That's not gonna, but if
so
you're in a marriage, y'all, like the one thing that I want people to understand, at least for us, now this is not going to work for everybody, but for us, when you say I do, that means you will. And even through hurt and pain, there is a way through it. You have to trust a higher power than yourself. In other words, if you got yourself in that mess, you can't get yourself out of that mess. And so being so hard and fast about this is how it's going to be, I just feel like sets you up for that's exactly what's going to happen to you. So you're going to meet somebody that you can't live without, and she's going to come in the bathroom when you go on number 2. Because you put it out there that I can't do it. I can't deal with that. And some people really can't. And, when we were going through both of our situations, I think both of us at some time felt like we couldn't do it. Okay. We could not foresee the Ed and Stacia of 2021 when we were whole and happy and healed and helping other people. We couldn't see that. So all we could see, I see people in the comments, these two are crazy. How are you putting up with this? Infidelity is a no-go. Well, that might be either why you are married, not married, won't stay married, but who are any of us to say what we can and can't go through? And we found out that we were a lot stronger than we thought we were.
Yeah. And I think also understand what marriage really means, right? Marriage isn't just a fly by the seat type of contract, whether it's a covenant. And when we talk about covenant, a covenant is something that should not be broken. So if you're in it, and we all know the words, through good times, bad times, whatever the case may be, you're married. That's it. I mean, there's really no.
God sees you as one person.
He sees you as one person. There are no exceptions.
And so, if you married a fool, then you're a fool now, and you got to figure out how to work through those situations. But I really feel like, in society today, we're all so quick. Like, I'm calling it quits. I'm going to walk away because I'm not happy. First of all, I don't know where we all got this notion that we're supposed to be happy all the time. I don't know about you two. I don't know about any of the rest of your viewers, but have you ever had a moment in your life or a period in your life where you're happy 100% of the time? That's not real, right? It's not real. Jesus wasn't happy 100% of the time. He suffered. He had crosses to bear. What makes you think you're not going to? So for us, this was that cross, and boy, it was not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination.
So Ed, I am the typical guy, right? Barbershop talk. So you mean to tell me, this is my opinion, by the way, when we're walking down the airport, right? We're headed to, I don't know, Cabo San Lucas.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
There is this tall, dark, handsome guy, abs ripped, and he has on the night that the guys, Ed, they got the shirt on. You can see what they thinking. It's so tight, and he's got a nice physique. He's got the aqua velvet on, right? The hair and everything is right. So if Stacia, if her head goes past this, is that a flag on the play, or are you cool with that?
You know what? I don't think I don't even know if I even pay attention. I don't think it even bothers me because I know where she's going. She's coming home with me, or we're going wherever. We're going together. I mean, the funny thing is, Stacia may even glance like, "Oh, that guy, he's tall and dark." I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean he's tall and dark?" And we might have a little banter back about for it. But having confidence in one another, knowing where our love lies, I don't have to worry about that. I mean, we've kind of gotten over that hump. My wandering eye, her wandering eye. Once we were able to get through this situation, it became trivial to us now.
Right, because neither one of us were unfaithful because we don't find the other one attractive. Neither one of us were unfaithful because we didn't love each other. So that, when people say, how did you get through it? We still actually really loved each other. And we had to figure out how to get back to that center and that love. And we did get married relatively young, right? And had a kid within the first year of our marriage. And it didn't stress us. We always got along really well, like getting things done. Man, that's where we were always simpatico. It was on those deeper things, and we talk about this a little bit in the book too. Our first homework assignment from one of our counselors was to go home and write down our top 10 needs in our relationship. And I literally started sweating, y'all, in the session when she said needs. Because as I said before, my mom was like a single mom. My dad was always around. But my mom, if something needed to be fixed, if she got her master's degree while working as a teacher and a principal and a cheerleading coach, like in my mind, my mom could do anything. If she needed to take care of my sister and I by herself, she could have. And so that's where I kind of had this, I don't need anybody. And I didn't think it was offensive. I just don't need anybody. Frankly, if you're getting married and you don't need something from your spouse, I don't know why you're married, but Which gives a homework assignment. I really didn't want to do it. I got on the phone with one of the girlfriends, like, girl, can you believe this counselor's talking about need? And but the reason I did it was because she said, you can't articulate your needs. How do you expect him to even have a hope of meeting them?
Talking about your needs, I mean, from a guy's perspective, I was very on the surface covering, right? I wasn't going deep enough. I was like, hey, well, what I need you to do is, make sure dinner's on the stove by 6 o'clock. I'm eating. Make sure the clothes are washed. That wasn't the need. I mean, the
Right.
therapist challenged us about what is it, Ed, that you need from a sense of, I don't want to say spirituality, but maybe that's the best word I think, but just spirituality. What do you need for her to fulfill you, make, not necessarily happy, but give you something? And that really, like she said, you get a little nervous talking about, well, what do I need? Because a guy, you're not always saying that you need something. Needing
Right.
something seems like you're weak. Like, what do I need? I got everything. I'm the man. I'm leading the relationship. I'm doing this. I don't need anything. I just need you to follow me. Going.
Right.
But that's not where you're going to find success at in a relationship.
Right.
Well, I will tell you this, Ed. What I need is peace. What I need is quiet. Let me think for a second. I need to be left alone. So Ed, I'm light skinned and sensitive, and I grew up an only child. So I can really easily tell anybody what it is that I need, and I can write out a list. It's 10 things. I don't need 10, but I can probably give you 5 real quick.
That's good. You're better than we were, because it was hard. That was a hard homework assignment.
Wow. So in terms of the fact that you had the hardship, right? So you've seen some of the comments and they're like, infidelity, deal breaker. Who wants to talk about that? And to your point, nobody really wants to put the work in. So
Right.
Talk to us in that place, in that moment where you guys looked at each other and said, you know what? You're worth fighting for, because I know in the midst of, I was a little unsure about the fact that you said we loved each other, but we still had those, extracurricular things that happen, because usually extracurricular things happen, because of time, opportunity, something's missing in the relationship. And I'm not going to go there, but I'd really like to hear about the moment that you decided you are worth fighting for. Were you on a trip? Were you watching a rom-com, Ed, that you didn't really want to watch? You had some tissues. Like, what was that moment?
I'll tell you, for me, I mean, when we were going through this issue and problem, I think it was one of our sessions. We were talking to a counselor, and she asked Stacia a question about what was she not giving me, but like, how does she feel about me? How does she care about me? In my mind, because I did what I did because I wasn't getting something, like you said, I needed something fulfilled, and I wasn't getting it from her. And I felt like I was doing a lot of heavy lifting in a relationship, and she was getting the benefit of it. There was a statement that Stacia said to me, just expressing how she felt and how much she loved me and how proud she was of me. And I stopped for a minute. I was like, I've never heard you say you were proud for me of anything. And at that moment there, I realized, maybe the issue wasn't necessarily her, what I wasn't getting, but what I perceived that she wasn't giving me. And it was there all along. It was right there in front of me. But I was so busy building my wall and building my list of things and don'ts and do's, I had actually missed that. And at that point, I knew then, okay, listen, okay, she is giving me. She expressed in such a way, it was so emotional. I mean, like, it touched my soul. But once I felt that, I was like, oh man, I really took that to task to say, I really need to work on this. And this woman is for me. Like, it kind of came back to why we were attracted to one another, why we had so much fun. She was there all along, and I just had missed it.
That's good. I remember that.
I'm sorry, Stacia. She touched his soul, like deep down in his shana. I mean, she so
beautiful. That was beautiful.
All the way down up in there. Well, it's funny because it was harder for me to recover at first from his affair. And I remember very distinctly being so angry and so sad. I would cry all the way to work, go to my, uber professional, pharmaceutical marketing job and hold it together for 8 hours and cry all the way home from work and pull it together in the driveway because we had 2 kids and we had to get through it. And And I was doing that really not knowing if I could survive it. It was that deep, deep pain where everything hurt, breathing hurts, right? And one thing that I will credit Ed with is he kept saying, maybe this was because he didn't know what else to do, but he would say, on Sundays, hey, babe, are we going to church? And I probably looked at him like I was shooting daggers out of my eyes. Like, I don't want to go anywhere with you. I don't have to. But you know what? I went. And I would be in church and I would hear the sermon, and we were in Indianapolis at the time. And I remember this one time our pastor was talking about how good God was. And I was having a whole conversation with myself about how no, he is not. Because if he were, I would not be going through this, right? Because it's all about me and making me happy and not having me ever have to go through anything hard. And when I look back on it, there's two big lessons there. One was I was obedient, not necessarily to him. I was obedient in going to church and being in the place where I needed to be to hear words I didn't really want to hear, but I heard them anyway. And that was a really big lesson. And then the other lesson to me personally was that our relationship with God is a real relationship. So just like you get mad at your friends and your kids and your spouse, I was mad. I mean, mad at God. And I could be, right? He still loved me. I was still his daughter. He was still taking care of me. So that really showed me it's not this, cerebral relationship. It's real. And I could be mad at him and then forgive him. And he was there for me all along. And that's really how we got through. I mean, we couldn't have done this in our own strength, y'all. Please do not believe that Stacia and Ed, in their own strength, got to this place. Okay. It absolutely was a whole lot of God, a whole lot of godly counsel from people who could help us to take the appropriate steps to strengthen our communication, strengthen the time that we spent with each other so that we didn't miss those things. When he said I had never said these things to him. For him, he wanted me to give him a pat on the back when he picked up the groceries or the dry cleaning. And I'm going, dude, we got 2 kids and 2 jobs. Like, I'm not patting you on the back for that.
I'm with Ed on that one.
Yeah, see?
Show me some respect around this.
I did not respect it. I just didn't give him lavish kudos on him for doing things that I felt like he did to run our family.
She made a lot of assumptions. She was assuming, well, he knows I love him, so I shouldn't have to explain it. I shouldn't have to say the same thing that women give us, right? For guys, she wants to be told that she's beautiful. She wants to be told I love her. I care for her. But in our minds, sometimes we're like, of course you know that. I'm here, right? I'm providing. Right. The gas is on, the heater's running, your car's full.
What more do you want?
What else do you want? But actually hearing that and having them receive it, that's the key. And that's on both of our parts here, making sure that we're giving that to one another.
So how did you guys get the trust back? Because let me ask you this. So did you cheat and then you revenge cheated? Is that how that worked? So it was like
not especially. Like if I'm being the cop out answer would be yes. But that's a cop out, right? I'm still responsible for my own behavior. So regardless of what he has done, I didn't have to revenge nothing. And in my circumstance, I was in a place where someone that I had known in my past kind of came back around, and I knew this person was my kryptonite. That's the person to stay away from. It's the only person other than this, the only one to stay away from. Don't take the call, right? But I took the call, right? So I have to own that. That's on me. But it happened in terms of order. Yes, he was unfaithful first. I discovered it, had huge blow-ups, et cetera, et cetera. But then I did feel a little bit like I created that crutch in that, I have a license to do this. It was just as wrong as when he did it. And so I have to own that.
But I mean, for me, I think the trust was returned once we really had to sit back. I did a lot of self-analysis on my side, a lot of sitting back and saying, what's the overall goal for us, right? Are we going to make it? Or do we still love, care, cherish one another enough to be in this relationship, knowing that we have this cloud over us, and now that we're both admitted to it, we're both cheaters, what are we going to do about it? And it's a hard thing. It's not easy. Look, I'm going to tell you, like she said before, this is not for the faint of heart. If you're not willing to do the work, you're right. You're not going to find your pie in the sky. I think a couple of things we've heard from our past pastors and just our network of friends and stuff is just understanding true forgiveness. And when we talk about forgiveness, sometimes, I know people say, well, I'll forgive it, I won't forget. Well, if you're not going to forget it, and you're always going to be bringing it up, you're going to have a problem there. I think once we came to the conclusion, we made an agreement with one another. Look, we can talk about it. This is not about punishing one another continuously over what each of us did, but figuring out how to let it go and kind of use that as a stepping stone to better the relationship and figure out what were we missing that we needed for one another. And once we did that, that allowed that trust to come in. Because you have to take something out and put something in. And once we figure out what that was, I think that's when the trust came back.
See, this is where we have the double standards. You see this on the screen right here, Leon. Now, we just got done talking about 5 minutes about how Ed cheated.
Right.
Nobody says nothing.
Right.
Stacia cheated. Bruh.
Right.
You took her back and cheated.
Right. Exactly.
But that is a societal double standard that we tend to have. It's expected for a woman to take a man back, but it's not a woman cheat. Like she is a harlot and a hussy and everything except for a child.
That's right. And
you know what, Constance?
And you're weak if you take her back.
Stacia, I think you have just given us a topic for next week. And that topic is kryptonite. No, I'm serious. I remember in my 20s and 30s that kryptonite was a real thing. A real thing. Like that one over there, like, Lord Jesus, please do not put me and that person in the same place. It's gonna be a whole problem. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to ask for a apology.
He got frozen. Is he in Dallas?
Reverend Hall.
Wait, you got cut
Dallas,
off. You got cut off, Rob. You got cut off.
I said the good Reverend Wallace Hall said, I just don't think I could do it in terms of infidelity. Stay in Wallace.
Oh, he texts you?
Yeah. We should probably bring them on. But anyway, no, this is Stay's moment, and along with Ed, because it is important for people to see Black Love 2.0. You understand what I'm saying? Because infidelity is a big one. But the one thing that we haven't touched on is the fact is that you had two seeds in the world who had to see mommy and daddy, something was just not right. And Constance and I talked about this on another show. As much as we try to hide that, like you said, you drove from work. You painted a picture for me. That's a whole Lifetime movie. You were a business she boss at work, but you boo-hooed 30 whole miles back home, sat in the car, brought it all together, and walked in the house like Superwoman. And Ed, on the other hand, you like, I know this chick didn't, right? So you on your way to the lounge or wherever it is you do for recreation, like, I can't believe. Then you go in the house and you put on your Superman cape for the kids. Like, that part right there is unreal to me, because to do it for the kids is difficult, number one. But how did you navigate that? Like, did you guys talk to them about it honestly, or did you kind of keep it from them? Where are you with that?
You want to tell them?
Sure. At the time we didn't, because they were young, and one thing we did talk about early on was we were not going to stay together for them, right? We were going to stay together because we wanted to be together.
Yeah.
And I had divorced parents. His parents were never married. We didn't have really great marriage role models, to be honest, but we decided we wanted to stay married. So we really didn't tell them much of anything. Fast forward to, last summer, we had to tell them because we were writing this book. And I was not going to release this book without my children's blessing, to be honest with you. And our kids are 23 and 21. And our son actually recounted some ridiculous story about how I wouldn't let him watch Naruto way back in the day. And so that's how he knew something was going on then, because I snapped at him. And I'm like, dude, you're 23. That's what you remember is I let you watch Naruto. But I had all this fear, y'all. So much fear built up in my heart about what my children would think. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Okay, if you haven't gotten that from my personality yet, you should have. But I do care what my children think a lot.
So this issue of kryptonite keeps coming up, and people are saying, "Well, I mean, how do you feel that there is actually another man out there that is your wife's weakness? How does that make you feel for her hearing her say that?"
I look at it this way: that was her weakness.
Correct.
That's no longer her weakness. So I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Exactly.
And we've had, once again, men and women a little bit different. We perceive the situation different. We perceive the threat different. We handle it different. But once again, it was about us having the conversation about it, making sure that we were understanding, okay, what put us in this situation? What are we, once again, what's our goal in this relate? Are we going to always say that there's something that could hinder us or come back and bite us in the butt if we let it? And once we made that decision, that's not what's going to happen with this relationship. There's nothing that can break us apart unless we want it
now
to.
There's no kryptonite.
Right. Now there's no kryptonite. If you give it power, then it's going to have power.
You ain't want to whip his ass. You ain't want to whip his ass just on GP.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, the first thing you hear, like, oh, what? Oh, that's what you did with? I mean, that's that first emotion that you have.
He's a freaking human, red-blooded black man. Right. Of course he did.
Yeah, so
and trust and believe, I was on my way to whoop some ass too. I mean, come on, y'all. Of course, we're human.
Yeah. We get upset. We got mad. There was a lot of, well, you know what? You need to get out the house, or you need to go handle yourself somewhere else, because right now I can't stand the sight of you. Right. I don't want to be bothered with you. I can't believe you did this to me. I mean, it was the same thing on her when it happened to me. She said, I can't believe you did this to me. And I think if you're even somewhat remotely kind of human, you're going to have this emotion when you realize you've hurt someone, and this is the person that you said that you love. Yeah. And now you put them in this position. I don't think she was ready for my initial response, because she never sees me get angry, right? I'm a cool, chill kind of guy. But, when I get angry and she knew to leave me alone. She knew I better leave him alone. So let me leave him alone. And once we had a moment to kind of get over that initial shock and hurt, we question one another. Okay, what does this really mean for us? Right. And once you come to that conclusion, you say, all right, we're going to put some ground rules down. We're going to talk about what this means. If we're going to work on this, we're going to do the hard work. We're going to really do the hard work. And once you do that, it opens it up, and you start realizing what's really key about the relationship: the commitment, the selflessness, the just overall love, and what it means to actually love someone.
Your communication, making sure that you have the right tribe around you. I mean, there were so many key lessons that we learned through all of this. And I know that our particular story is infidelity, but for other people, it's other things. And, we try to help people understand what are the discussions, what are the kinds of talks that you should be having with your spouse, so that whether it's infidelity or not, that it's not, a financial concern that breaks the two of you up. Some of y'all mamas won't stay out of your business. It's not the mother-in-law that's causing problems and getting in between your relationship. There are so many things that can attack a relationship. And let me be very clear. In our minds, the best demonstration of the love that God has for us, which is unconditional, meaning it doesn't matter what you do, I love you, is a marriage. So if you just walk away from it because somebody did something you didn't like, even something this freaking bad, that for us, at least, the devil gets to put a check in his win column. Now, for some people, they just can't handle it, right? And that's what happens. But we determine that that's not the way that we want it to go. And so once you make that kind of a determination, right, then I think the fight becomes a lot different. We learn to stop fighting each other and fight for each other and with each other. And I think that's really, part of kind of the solution for our success.
Yeah.
That is pretty dope. I think that's cool, Constance. I mean, the fact that you're willing to, on the other side of the pain and the other side of the hurt, be willing to fight for each other and to go all in to make it work. Because as I said earlier, Ed, I'm light skinned and sensitive, and I'm holding on to that thing forever.
Forever?
I'm gonna get past it. It's not right now. It's not right now. I need a minute.
Right.
And the other cool thing is that you said that you may spirituality as part of your healing process. I know I stand on the word where it says that he will give you beauty for your ashes, and you got it clearly on the other side. And there is this one church in Indiana, cool brother named our Pastor Jeffrey Johnson.
That was our
Eastern
pastor.
Oh, that dude is super dope. Y'all can't be breaking up in his church because that dude will tell you a whole story. You'd be like, damn, okay, I get it now, Pastor.
Yeah.
That's my dude.
Yeah, he is excellent.
Yeah.
We have been very, very lucky to have quite a few very great pastors in our many moves across the country. And for us too, it's back to something you said earlier, Robert, about really demonstrating that no love is perfect, but that Black love can be perfected, and we don't always have to run for the hills. We also don't have to just stay married like maybe our grandparents' generation, where they stayed married forever, but they wasn't really happy. It was just divorce wasn't something they did. So we didn't want to be in a marriage like that either. We didn't just stay together because it's just God doesn't want us to get divorced. So we really wanted to make it fulfilling and to provide a roadmap for our kids, so that they can understand that y'all may go through hardships too. That doesn't mean you cut and run.
And some, Robert, you said earlier, thinking about having a son, right? So we have a son and a daughter, but I didn't want to handicap my son without being able for him to tap into his own emotions and be able to express that and talk. Because any woman he's going to get involved with, he's going to have to learn that. Those are skills that don't come easily for most men: communicating, being open, sharing, and being forthright with the feel. It's just not easy. So as we talked to our kids about this, this was something that, gave him an opportunity to really hear from a male's perspective and tell him, I saw someone put in the comments earlier, sometimes marriage isn't for everyone. And sometimes marriage is a time that you think it is. It's not right for you. There is no right time. But sometimes you do need to take the time to really get to know who you are individually before you put yourself in a relationship with someone else. So and as men, we have to learn that, right? If you're not ready, don't do it. Make sure you have everything worked out from how you are, what you need, as we talked about earlier. So that it was really good that having that opportunity to share with my son and really kind of prepare him to have him think. I'm like, listen, you might find some nice little girl, your own little kryptonite, but is she really right for you? Are you going to put yourself in a situation to be successful with your marriage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, at this point in my life, Ed, I can stand. Get thee behind me, Satan! Right. So I've got a lot more discipline in my mature years, but so just going past infidelity, the reality of it is that it could be something else, and you touched on that earlier, Stacey and Ed, that it could be the plus one parent who's in the household. It could be finances. It could be, a change in appearance. It could be a handicap that happened to somebody that allows them to be physically disabled to perform or to function. So all those things wear on a relationship, and it's a slow, steady buildup. But when you get to that sunken place, most of us, including me, don't know how to get out of that place. And it's easier just to stay here. If you remember back in the day, if you're old enough to remember New Edition saying, "Is this the end?" I listened to that song like 57 times because I wanted to stay in this hurt because this girl was kissing some other dude and not me. And I just stayed in that place for a long, long time. I didn't want to go outside and play with my friends. I wanted to just listen to "Is This the End?" because I couldn't believe what had happened in my life. So the sunken place, getting out of that. I think I saw you had some keys to success. And I think one of them was surrounding yourself with the right tribe. Well, that piece means you got to be vulnerable and let some other people in. So I need y'all to speak on that because you let other people in your business.
That's that part, because we are definitely not brought up to do that, especially when you're Black, right? You keep the dirty business, the family business in the house, blah, 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 blah. That's why we got so many damn toxic relationships now, even in our families, right? is because we were never raised to learn how to talk about these things. And the only way out is to talk about it. Again, with the right people, not with the wrong people.
Right.
And we are so grateful that we had, godly counsel. But then we also just had some good friends who, like a couple of my girlfriends, knew things that they would have taken it to the grave. If I had never said anything, they would have never said anything. So you definitely need people in your life like that, but they also check me, right? Even though they're my best friends, they're my friends, damn it. But they're checking me like, no, you're wrong, right? You have to stop. So they, we're always there in our corner, but you do have to be vulnerable. And one of our friends gave us this quote that I think is beautiful, but I have to credit her, not me. This didn't come from me, which is that you have to put the fear away. And that is so hard for us. To be vulnerable, you have to put the fear away. You have to realize, especially in a marriage, that this is the person that could crush me. If I truly love him with all that I am and all that I have, he can destroy me. I can destroy him, but I have to trust that he won't. And that is the most difficult place to be. But until we got there, we couldn't climb back out, right? Because you just you keep filling it up with superficial stuff, right? Until you can hit that rock bottom. And the only way to claw yourself out is to be vulnerable.
And as man, that's the biggest thing too. I found, being vulnerable. And the funny thing is, like Stacia said, when we did open up and start telling some of our friends, I mean, I've had a few of them tell me like, "You big dummy, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you do that?" I mean, you got it, because on the surface, everyone saw like you guys are the perfect couple, both working professionals, good, smart kids, both educated. All those things didn't really matter what was going on within us. But once we were, being vulnerable and opening up, sharing that, more people said, "Hey, listen, I get it. I understand. If you had came to me, I would have helped you. I could have been someone that should have guided you away from that, or given you a good slap on the head or something like that." And that's the hardest thing at least I think for a man, for me, being vulnerable and open to that. And number one, being open to that criticism, because, we kind of want to do our stuff. We want to do it in the dirt.
Right.
That's right. I mean, you want to do it in the dark. Hey, I'm doing it. I'm making me feel good.
Right.
And that's a very selfish and dangerous place to put yourself in, when you're only thinking about what something is doing for you and not putting it in perspective with the other person, what you're going to do and hurt them once they find out, because it's always going to come to light.
It's always going to come.
Every single time it's going to come to light. Be ready.
One of the things that you said that was so profound is that he has the power to crush you, because you love him with every part of your being. And that's a really delicate place to be. And so when you have that kind of responsibility as the husband, as the wife, you have to be really careful, in how you act and how you react and the things that you do and the decisions that you make, because you really, in being married to someone and giving somebody your all, you really have the power to really crush them. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's scary when you realize it and when you verbalize it, because you're like, "Ooh, that's true." Right. But then all the more important for me to communicate with him and him with me what we need so that he doesn't crush me. Right. And now I do feel like we're in a place where, Robert, you asked earlier, how do you get the trust back? I don't even know if there's action steps necessarily to getting the trust back. I think we try to hint at some of it in the book. A lot of it just takes time, but it does take you being willing to say, yes, I'm willing to go back to that place where he could crush me again. Like, wow.
Vulnerability.
Yes, exactly. But trusting that he won't. And so, like, I never thought there would be a time where I wouldn't be, y'all, checking his phone, always looking over his shoulder. Who is he talking to? I don't even think about it. And that's like what you said, Robert. When she looks, I don't even know if I do look, but he don't care. I'm not going nowhere. He knows that now. Right. And now when we say I'm not going anywhere, y'all, we know we're not going. We've already been through this. And I'm going to walk away for somebody who's got a too tight medium t-shirt on? I don't think so.
Lyle Scott said, do you both see that cheating as a strong experience? You both have been there, done that, and both know? Do you see that cheating has strengthened your relationship?
It has, for sure. because there were things that we should have been communicating to each other outside of the cheating experience. The cheating is why. It was our kind of vacation away from our problems, right? And so now we don't have to have a vacation because we have things in place and systems in place for us to make sure we're talking about those things. So I don't need to get it from somewhere else. I already know I can get it from him. I can talk to him about anything. He can talk to me about anything. So I feel like it did. Listen, Lyle, let me be honest. I wish we hadn't gone through it. I'm not going to say it was good, but I definitely think it's strengthened our marriage.
Yeah, I just, I look at where we were, and you never think that you're going to get out of it. You think you're in this dark, deep hole. I mean, like she expressed earlier, she was mad at me for so long. And then when I found out about her, I was mad at her. And, once you kind of go, you have this learning, this like, aha, you have this epiphany about, man, what is this life really about? Because I think you alluded to it earlier. It's just like, if you talk about your relationship with God and the Father, we're constantly disappointing him. And your marriage is the same thing. We're in this position where we could potentially hurt one another, but we're disappointing one another. And how much do you let that affect you? And are you willing to constantly come back to it and go to bat for it and continue to work on it and just be engaged about it, so that it's not going to always be perfect. There is no perfect pill. There is no blue or red pill like from the Matrix. It is what it is. And you just have to be willing to put that work in. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's rewarding, sometimes it's frustrating. We still have our ups and downs, but we have so many more ups and downs, or more ups than we do downs. And we just realize just how fortunate we are to have gone through this, that when we look at it now, it's like, you know what, that was hard, but look where we are now. And I think when we start off, being 9 years into the marriage, you didn't think about that. You thought about like, I done wasted my time, and what does this really mean for us? And I could have been single for all of this. But now that we look back and we say, man, this took us so far in our relationship. And then how we look at each other, how we look at ourselves, it's been a really eye-opener for us.
Talk too about, I like the statements that you make about happiness and that we're not responsible for.
Yeah, I hit on that earlier. Happiness, expecting this woman to make me happy every single moment of the day is just unfair to her. It's unrealistic, right? Because I have to have something in myself. I have to be feeling myself, not only with just her, but, if you're going to have a relationship with God, with him, you're going to have your own things that you like to do that fulfill you as a person. The problem I think some of us have, and I know I had, I was putting all my eggs in the basket of Stacia. All right, Stacia, you make me happy. I'm waiting on you to do this. Oh, you're not going to do this? Well, let me go get it. You're gonna be upset or a funky act, and you got your attitude on. I don't know. You know what you got the attitude for? You won't even talk to me now. You know what? I don't want to deal with that. So I'm gonna go over here. That expectation of that happiness is I think that's definitely a killer for the relationship, because if you're always looking for that person, the minute that they don't meet that, you're going to look somewhere else to fill what you think they should be giving you. And that's a dangerous place to put yourself in.
Yeah.
And
then I think the last thing
that your funky act itself.
Yeah, which a funky act is. I can be a funky actor. And then I also think that it's really important that we had to forgive ourselves too. It's not as if I was like, hey, I cheated on you and I'm so happy about that. I broke this man's heart. I wasn't happy. And I had to learn to forgive myself for what I had done to him. As crazy as that may seem, I think that if I hadn't forgiven myself, it would have been harder to extend forgiveness to him, and vice versa. You're actually the one that brought that up to me, is that he had to forgive himself. And, I think that's just really very critical, because we're our own worst enemy sometimes. And if we had either one of us kept that all in and not forgiven ourselves and said, I have forgiven myself for this, so I can move past it now. I have forgiven you for what you did, and now we can move past it together. But that was really important to me.
So Constance, if I can ask real quick, like in terms of, I know you said times, I think my version of what I heard, time heals all hurt and pain, right? But there's got to be something really cool that you guys do. Here's one of the things that I miss about a past administration. Barack and Michelle used to have date nights. So is there a thing that y'all do, if it's bowling, Uno, spades? I don't know if you're a great dancer. I don't know what your thing is, but Is there something that y'all do like that's y'all jam? That's y'all happy place?
So now that our kids are out of the house, so we have one that's graduated from college, the other will graduate in May. So we love being empty nesters and doing whatever we want whenever we want. So I would say probably in the summertime, like just hanging out in the back. We got a little pool back there, floating, listening to our music, eating tequila infused watermelon every weekend. Like we love just kind of chillaxing together. We also have the same sense of humor, so we like the same stupid movies. We could watch any Eddie Murphy movie a million times. We could turn the sound off and quote the whole darn movie. It doesn't matter. So we like to veg out and do stuff like that. When the kids were still home, we did try to have like that scheduled date night because you have to have time with kids and then time away from kids. We don't have to do that as much anymore because we can date every single night if we want to.
Yeah, I think every day is an opportunity, right, for me to show her how much I care and love her, right? So, like she said, I mean, I think some of the things that we do, we work out together a lot of times.
That's true.
Like I said, we like the same movies. We have the same number of friends, but then we also have our own separate life. So we have a chance to get away from one another.
Yeah.
I got a chance to go hang out with my boys, go visit family. She does the same thing. She does a girls trip like every other year with some of her good friends. And then we come back together, and I think it just enriches the relationship to make sure that you guys have more than just every day looking at each other, seeing each other. She has her own interests professionally. I have my own interests professionally. And we just make sure we have that time apart so that when we are together, we can really enjoy one another. And I think it just adds to it. And like I said, right now, being the empty nester, I mean, it's like we've been waiting for this moment. I mean, because our kids were active throughout middle school and high school. We were just, when they graduated, we're never coming back to this high school again. We never want to see this place again. But now we just enjoy it. So like she said, we could just sit around and do nothing. Yeah. Or we could just say, you know what,
like each other.
We want to go somewhere. We just trying to travel. We have a same number of friends who are in the same circle. So we like to go travel with them. That's a lot of fun. Hanging out with those guys and just sharing, connecting with other similar like people and couples.
But like when COVID hit, I kept telling him, because we've both been working from home since last March for a year. And I told him, I am so glad I like you, because I don't get tired of seeing him. I don't get tired of, hey, I'm hungry. It's time for lunch. What are we going to eat for lunch? Like the whole COVID thing has been a non-issue in terms of, stress or strife in our relationship, because we do actually like each other. So that helps too. So it's not forced. It doesn't ever feel like we have to, not anymore. When the kids were around, we did have to make sure we had time to do it. But now we just do it whenever we want to do it. But then when the kids were home, we did also have like one night was like a business meeting night, which meant let's talk about who's got to run kids here, there, everywhere. So on date night, we won't talk about that. We're not talking about kids. We're talking about us, right? But that's why we had two separate things to make sure we could get the business handled, which we've always been great at, but that we had time that was specifically carved out to enhance and build our relationship.
No, that's amazing. I mean, when you, just like Lyle said, when you can get to the other side of that and then be able to really enjoy each other, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that Rob and I always have a debate about when we talk about Black love. And one of the things that we ask is, what's more important, love or trust?
Ooh, what's more important, love or trust?
Oh, that's hard. Hey, what do you think?
Oh, that's a hard one. I mean, So I think that I'm going to go with love. And I'm going to say love because love is not a feeling. It can be a feeling, but it's not just a feeling. Sometimes it's a choice, right? So even if the trust is broken, I still choose to love you. Even if the financial times get rough, right? And you're eating beans out the can. And I don't necessarily know if you're going to find a job to, pay the bills. I still love you. So I'm going to choose to love you. So for me, I would have to say love, because it's not just the feeling. I still get the butterfly feelings. And when I look at him, I still, he'll just be walking in his sweats since we're working from home. And I'm like, you're just really handsome. I still get those feelings, but sometimes I've just had to choose, like, I'm going to love you regardless of whether or not. And so for me, I would say it's love.
So ditto everything that she said.
Whatever.
I mean, it's so hard,
You're
right?
right in it, buddy.
Yeah. Love encompasses trust, right? Love encompasses the forgiveness, everything that you need from a relationship. If you're being honest with yourself, is you're going to have that with love. And like I said, it's not always about yourself. Sometimes love is giving, right? And with no expectations of getting something in return. That's really love. Love isn't about, well, I do something for you and I get something for that. Sometimes I'm just going to give it to you because I care for you.
I love you.
And not just because I love you.
Yeah. He's better at that than me.
So Rob, what are your thoughts around love and trust?
Oh, if you want to put me on the spot, let me stand on my square, and I'm going to tell you, trust is more important than love. I done been in love, I've had love, I've lost love, and in all of those things, I would rather trust you than to love you, because it's easy to love. God commanded me to love you. So now, if you ask me, do I like you? That's something totally different. But if I had to choose between love and trust, I'd rather have the trust, because trust feels safe for me. Trust is comfort for me. Trust means that I know that I'm not worried about what you do around me. I'm safe with what you do when I'm not in your presence. So I need to know that that's there. And for me, Constance and I, we usually, have these little debates, and she'll tease me about it, and people tear me up on the show. But I'm really strong on that. I gotta trust you. Gotta trust you.
Well, I mean, the first time we talked about it, I think people were going with me on the love, but I think the last time we talked about it, everybody was green. I don't know. He made a good point, because everybody was like, trust. I agree. I happen to agree with the both of you about love, because love encompasses trust, because love is an action word, because Corinthians says love is patience, kindness, all of these things. It's enduring, it's trustworthy, it never fails. Love is everything. So if you have love, trust comes with it. Now, it's also a thing that you have to do. It's not something that you just say. It's not something that's how you feel. It's what you do. I love you by doing X, Y, and Z. Now, I may not always measure up to that love. However, I'm always trying and striving to do what it takes to show you that I love you. Right. And that's a differentiator in how I see love versus trust.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're going to be with you on your side, because we answered love. So sorry, Robert.
I'm going to stand strong on my square. Trust.
But you know what, though? It's a very different answer. And I have to just say that the love is scarier, because that's where the vulnerability is. Trust means there's some sort of objective things that I can measure, whether or not I trust you, right? And so that's that's right. But you can't do that with love all the time. So I get it. It's a scarier place. And what did you say? You were a light-skinned, sensitive dude?
Light-skinned.
That vulnerability that you don't like, that requires that love factor, Robert.
That's right. That's right. Look at him.
Again, I can't do it. I mean, so in terms of love and trust, I'd rather talk more about the love than the trust, but the trust has to be like just solid, and I need to feel that. And I believe that it's so I always make this analogy, like between somebody who lies and a liar, right? Like a liar, I know he lying, so I'm not even really tripping off of what he says or does, because he's a liar. Now, if I trust you and I find out that you lied to me, that hurts more, because I gave something to you and it was fragile, and you just dropped it on the ground. So for me, that's like no take backs, right? When it fall on the ground, people like 3-second rules are like, it fell on the ground.
3-second rule. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, but you know what? I think that it is, and again, everybody is at a different point with it, but I think it is important that you remember that hurt people, and we're all hurt people. And so if I have to trust that you'll never hurt me, I'll never trust anybody, because the reality is everybody has a hurt somewhere. Most of us, I think the issue really is, and I think this was part of our problem, was we don't know what it is. We haven't tapped into it ourselves, either because we're fearful. We don't really want to claim it and name it, because that means then maybe we have to own it. And we have to figure out how, even though somebody else who hurt me all those years ago, I have to fix it. even though I didn't do it. And so I feel like that's a realization that can really help people, is to understand when someone hurts you or breaks that trust, like you said, drops it, they didn't always do it intentionally. And if they did do it intentionally, it's probably because they're hurt too, right? And like you said at the very beginning, it's two very imperfect people coming together with all those imperfections. Now you have doubled them. And so to have too high expectations, just saying, to have too high expectations that I can trust you, like with my heart, I can trust you'll never hurt me. Well, that's really rough. And quite frankly, that's the place we should all put God in. That's the only one we can trust is not going to do that. He going to put us through some hardship maybe, but he's not going to hurt us. Because humans are all hurt and flawed and destroyed in some ways. And then you bring in your mess, which some people don't even realize they have or won't admit that they have because they think they walk on water. And then they join it with somebody else's mess. And it's a whole entire hot ass mess, right? So that's really important, is just to remember sometimes people don't intentionally hurt you. And I think even in our circumstances, I had to kind of think about that, right? I have hurts in my life just from seeing my parents get divorced, right? I mean, that was not pleasant. And that was an infidelity situation, to be honest with you. So I saw that hurt me. I didn't love that. I don't know how Ed felt. I mean, his parents weren't married.
Oh, yeah, it's a whole other thing. Yeah, my parents weren't even married, so I was in that part of it, right? And then come to find out later on that I have other half siblings and brothers I didn't know about. So, I dealt with that. So I had a father who didn't stay with my mother, and he went and made another family, and I'm my mom's only kid, and I carried that with me as well. So we talked about that a lot, I think, early on our marriage, just, what were we carrying? What damage were we carrying? We had a little bit of that carrying on from our growing up. And I think Stacey said earlier, or she said it before, just sometimes we're dealing with our mommy and daddy issues that would carry into our relationships as well. If we don't really come to terms with those things, it can add to some challenges within the relationship as well.
Yeah, those mommy and daddy issues, they run really deep. They can run really deep.
Really deep.
Yeah. So Constance, I love talking to all of our guests, and I say this real quick. My last question of the evening, and I'm not saying this is the end of the broadcast, but I was sitting in a commencement exercise, and Tavis Smiley had just written a book. The book was entitled "This I Know for Sure," and one of the things he named about 3 or 4 things, but one of the things he said, "There's nothing like the love of a Black mother," and that hit me. So it made such an impact on me that I kind of carry these things around. I had to ask myself, what is it that I know for sure? Right. So in listening to your story, you certainly are battle tested, right? So you are empowered to be able to tell this story, and you can be trusted to be able to walk people through their sunken place. But in terms of like words of wisdom to say to that young couple who's at that precipice, like the double dutch, Ed, what's your "this I know for sure" advice and or quote, and then the same thing for you, Stacia. "This I know for sure," because I need the real from somebody to kind of put me up on game. This I know for sure.
So this I know for sure. In any relationship, you are going to hurt. You're going to feel some level of hurt. You may not like it. You may not plan for it. In fact, you can't plan for it. You don't know what's going to happen, but I can guarantee you're going to get hurt. Now, how do you deal with that? How do you grow from that? How do you learn from that? How do you get in touch with yourself to say, okay, why did this happen? How did this happen? Ask the right questions. And maybe because sometimes we're hurt because, like Stacia said, hurt people do hurt things. And maybe it's something that we did. We have to be willing to look at ourselves and say, am I the cause of this? And I'm not saying you're to blame, but, really analyzing that and saying, okay, what's going on here, and having that true self evaluation of yourself. I think that's what I know. I mean, you're just going to be hurt. I think early on, before I met Stacia, I was always worried about someone hurting me, some love. Like you said, the song New Edition, "Is This the End?" I was one of those guys that sent it to me. This girl hurt me so bad. Is this the end? I don't want to call her no more. I'm going to hang up on her. I don't want to deal with that. So But once I understood that, love is gonna be sometimes challenging, and you're gonna have to go through something. It's not gonna be perfect. You're not gonna have this kind of TV love. And I saw some of the comments where people talk about, society sometimes plays a factor in giving us these false narratives about what love and what marriage is and how the relationship should go, and it's never gonna be like that. So if you can understand that and be willing to say, you know what, I probably am going to be hurt, but just because I'm hurt doesn't mean I can't be better and I can't resolve it or get through it.
Yeah.
And mine would
This I know for sure.
This I know for sure is that if you're married to the right person, is worth it. Even going through the pain and the hurt, it's still so worth it. There is not another life I can imagine not living it without this guy. So even with that pain and that hurt, you need to make sure that you're with the kind of person that you can say it's worth it. And I'm willing to go through this with you, because even though we have spent most of this broadcast obviously talking about the book and talking about infidelity, that's not the sum total of our relationship. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I remember when Michelle Obama was doing her book tour, and she was talking about how if you're in a marriage and you're happy 80% of the time, so if you're talking about a work week, that's 4 out of 5 days of the week. It's pretty darn good, right? And that's about all you can hope for. And, the audience was kind of looking at her, and she's like, yes, even with Barack Obama, it's still only 80%, right? And so I just have to realize we are so lucky. It's so worth it. That 80%, y'all, is a lot of fun. And I wouldn't trade this life with him for anything.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Wow. So, Stacia, Ed, where can they find your book? How do they get in contact with you? Because you guys can, what your testimony already, I'm sure, is helping thousands of people. There are thousands of people watching right now, and I'm sure it's going to help thousands more. How do they get in contact with you? How do they restore their marriages? What can they do?
Wonderful. So the book is available on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback, and it is called We Redo. And so you can find it on Amazon, and you can find us on socials, right? So on Facebook, I am Stacia Gowens, StaciaGowens. He is Edward.
I'm Edward Gowens.
I think he's Edward. I never call him Edward, so it's always strange to me. I'm like, he's Edward on Facebook.
Who's Edward?
Yeah, exactly. Who is that? Who are they talking to? And then on Instagram, Stacia_Gowens. He's Gowens E. On Instagram as well. So we hope you guys find a lot of pearls in the book. I can promise you will probably, at a minimum, like the playlist that goes along with the book, because we got all the little old school songs tied to. Robert's really gonna like the playlist, because there's a little new edition in there somewhere. But we take people on kind of a musical journey of the relationship from when we met. So like my first chapter is, allow me to reintroduce myself. Exactly. See, you just start doing it immediately. And then of course his is Eminem. Hi, my name is. So anyway, hopefully you guys will find the book, enjoy the book, share the book with other people. I can't tell you how many people that I know personally who have read this book and said on the back end, and I meant to say this earlier, sis, I've gone through the same thing. There are so many people, y'all, who have gone through this. They just don't tell anybody, and they feel alone. And that's why we wrote the book, so you don't have to feel like you're the only one experiencing this.
And I also like to highlight the fact that at the back of the book, we do have some discussion topics and questions, because things that maybe you with your significant other, your spouse, you haven't broach these subjects. So right. We have some discussion questions for you to start having that dialogue, because at some point, if you're going to heal, you have to start having that dialogue. And that's one of the things we had to learn. And I think Stacia said before, if not here, but counseling isn't just for when you're doing well.
Yes.
Counseling, when you're doing bad. Counseling is for when you're doing well as well. You want to be in a healthy spot to be able to always have these check-ins, being able to be open to getting help. Not just waiting until when everything's kind of falling falling apart around you, but also when things are going well, so you can continue to escalate your relationship.
Good to great, great to greater. So, we tell people that's the, where else are you going to get really good tips on what to do next, right? Even if you have a great relationship, it could be better. So.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. This is amazing. Shit, I mean, I got nuggets here, so I can imagine how many more nuggets that I'm going to get when I get the book. So I'm definitely going to get the book. Robert, you going to get the book as well?
Absolutely, only if they sign it.
Yeah, we will definitely do that for you, sir. We will definitely do that.
I'm light-skinned and sensitive. I won't have it no other way.
That's what we'll sign. We'll sign
Yeah.
it.
No, but thank you guys for being on. I hope you much success. Again, you guys are going to change thousands and thousands of people's lives by your testimony. It takes a lot to stick together. It's easy to walk away, but to stick together, man, that's everything. And to be able to say and recommit yourself and be on a whole different level within your relationship, and to be able to grow from the mistakes. I mean, that's everything as well. So thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And, a lot of people, they certainly can benefit. When you have couples, we're getting ready to do a retreat in Costa Rica, the Weekend Wealth Retreat, and it's going to be for men and women. It's a transformational retreat. So we'd like to invite all of our audience to come. Rob's going to be, you can be there, right, Rob? Rob's going to be there. He's going to be facilitating. I'm going to be facilitating. And it's just going to be an amazing experience. Real quick before we leave, I want to show you guys the house that we got. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that mansion was
our kind of place.
Yes. We invite you to come out, and we invite our audience to go to weekendtowealth.com to sign up. We're going to have a lot of amazing folks there. The networking is going to be impeccable, but the life-changing transformation is going to be even better. So we're inviting everybody out to Costa Rica, June 17th through the 21st. It's going to be a transformational experience. Rob, you have any last words before we get off here?
Yeah, I just want to tell Ed and Stacia, I need you to connect with and look up my good friends, our super friends, Stay and Wallace Hall.
I think you're going to say that.
Your space, and they kind of do what you do to a certain degree, but I know there's some really, really cool people, and I can see you guys collaborating on a platform, something like this, and absolutely changing thousands of people's lives. One, with your transparency, two, with the ability to be vulnerable, and then three, both of y'all at the same time, Ed, you said love. Even if that wasn't the answer, you gave the right answer, baby. So I certainly celebrate you for doing that. And as I've said in the past before, Constance, I love Black love, and you guys have exemplified that for one whole hour, dealing with my crazy self, and Constance asking you the difficult questions, and then we have our audience chiming in, kind of throwing shots. So salute to both of you. I appreciate you, and I celebrate you for exemplifying Black love here on this broadcast.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us. Sharing this broadcast out to your friends, put it in marriage groups, because folks need to hear it. Make sure you share on your page, tag your friends, your girlfriends, your baby mamas, tag everybody, because everybody needs to hear what they talked about tonight. This was amazing. So we appreciate you. Make sure you're hitting the hearts, like, harder up right now. Everybody, harder.